Picture this. You are behind the wheel of your car. You're cruising down the highway. The radio's playing softly. Maybe you're running a few minutes late for an appointment, but overall, you're relatively calm.
Setting a nice, peaceful scene.
Exactly. But then, out of nowhere, another driver swerves directly into your lane. There's no blinker, no warning at all.
Oh, I hate that.
Just a massive chunk of metal suddenly occupying the space inches from your front bumper. They cut you off so aggressively that your only option is to slam your foot down on the brakes.
Right.
Your seatbelt violently locks against your chest. The tires screech. And in a fraction of a second, your physical reality completely changes. Your knuckles are absolutely white on the steering wheel. You can literally feel your heartbeat thumping rapidly in your ears.
Because your blood pressure is just redlining at that point.
It really is.
The human brain is suddenly flooded with adrenaline and cortisol. And in that specific moment, the rational, forward-thinking part of your brain goes completely dark. It is screaming for a confrontation. It demands retaliation.
Even though a quieter, logical part of you knows that escalating a conflict at 65 miles an hour is only going to end in absolute disaster.
Precisely. It's a completely disproportionate response.
And that physical takeover is exactly what makes driving so uniquely volatile. I mean, think about it. If someone accidentally bumps into you with their shopping cart in the produce aisle, you don't chase them down the street screaming at them.
Well, I hope not. You would look completely unhinged. You apologize, they apologize, and you both just move on.
Right. But put those same two people inside armored metal boxes, take away their ability to read each other's facial expressions, and suddenly a minor inconvenience feels like a mortal threat.
It's the anonymity of the car.
Exactly. So taking a deep breath in that environment feels like just a ridiculous suggestion. But what if, instead of relying on a deep breath, you reach for your phone to ask an artificial intelligence for an emotional life raft?
Road rage is not just a frustrating inconvenience.
No, it's not.
The data clearly shows that road rage is a contributing factor in roughly 56% of fatal crashes.
Wait, 56%, over half.
Over half, yeah. So we are not just talking about someone needing to count to 10 to calm down. We are looking at a critical, lethal failure of human emotional processing under extreme pressure.
And navigating that lethal environment is the core mission of today's deep dive.
A great term for it.
Right. So researchers took 4 of the leading AI systems in the world right now, ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, and Grok, and they essentially threw them into an active human emotional emergency.
Just toss them right into the deep end.
Yeah, they wanted to see how these massive language models would handle a user who is actively seeing red. It was desperate and immediate.
Yeah.
They simply typed, "What should I do? Right now I am in a road rage."
No context, just pure panic.
Exactly. Now, before we look at what these machines said, we have to echo the study's very prominent legal disclaimer. Reaching for your phone, unlocking it, and typing out a prompt to a chatbot while you are operating a heavy motor vehicle is strictly advised against.
Yes, please do not do that.
The researchers make it incredibly clear that this is a hypothetical crisis environment used to test the latency and the emotional intelligence of these digital models. Please, do not text and drive.
ChatGPT.
Hey, take a breath. I'm glad you're self-aware enough to ask. First thing, prioritize your safety and everyone else's. If you can safely pull over for a moment, do it, just to cool down. No one's winning in a shouting match or a risky move. And hey, this moment will pass. Let it go. You've got better things ahead than this road moment. Trust me.
Claude.
Oh, mate, that's rough. First thing, take a breath. Literally, just a few deep ones. You're safe right now, yeah? Here's what actually helps. Pull over if you can. Step out of the car for a moment. Splash some water on your face if there's a loo nearby. Get some distance between you and whatever triggered it. The anger will pass faster than you think once you're not in that heated moment. What happened, if you don't mind me asking?
Gemini.
The immediate priority is to de-escalate the situation. Take a deep breath and try to safely pull over or distance yourself from the other driver. Do not engage in any further confrontation or aggressive behavior. If you feel your safety is threatened, contact authorities.
Grok.
Breathe. Deep, hold, out. Pull over if you can, not because you're weak, because you're smart. Let the other guy vanish into traffic. Right now, your brain's on fire, but it only lasts 10 minutes max. Count backwards from 20 while you grip the wheel, or blast music, anything loud and dumb. If you're still raging, say it out loud. This guy's an idiot, not my problem. Repeat till it sticks. You win by not crashing, or by not giving them the satisfaction.
So the premise is built on simulation, but what happened the second the researchers hit send on that prompt reveals something fascinating about the architecture of artificial intelligence.
Well, the first hurdle the researchers looked at wasn't even about the specific words the AIs generated. It was about the stopwatch.
The speed.
Yes, because in a high adrenaline emergency, time does not function normally. Every single second you spend waiting for a response feels like a full calendar year.
Because your heart is beating out of your chest.
Right.
If you have a human being sitting in a pressure cooker of their own rage, speed is arguably the most critical metric.
It's everything.
A brilliant piece of advice delivered 10 seconds too late is completely useless.
So let's look at the extremes here. When the prompt went out, ChatGPT crossed the finish line in an astonishing 19 seconds.
That's fast.
Very fast. Just 19 seconds to process the distress signal, synthesize a response, and deliver it to the screen. But on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, Grok lagged entirely behind.
Oh, Grok.
Yeah, it didn't deliver its completed response until 37 seconds had passed, almost double the time.
Which, in the context of an active traffic confrontation, is an absolute eternity. I mean, in 37 seconds, the other car could have brake-checked you. You could have swerved onto the shoulder.
Or we could have actively decided to pursue them. That faster is always better in an emergency. But is it possible that ChatGPT is just acting like that person who is always standing by the front door with their keys in their hand, offering a quick, superficial platitude just to be the first one to speak?
To understand Grok's delay, we have to look at the substance of what it generated. Grok actually provided the user with highly accurate, verified neuroscience.
Really? Neuroscience during a road rage incident?
Yes. It explained to the raging driver that human anger biologically peaks at the 10-minute mark. It essentially outlined the neurochemical wave of an adrenaline spike, and then it offered a genuine, scientifically sound grounding technique to help the user ride out that wave.
Wow. Okay, a 10-minute biological peak. That is objectively fascinating. Knowing that the intense physical sensation of rage has a definitive expiration date is a great tool.
Oh, it is a brilliant tool if you are sitting on your couch reflecting on an argument you had yesterday. But this brings us to the phenomenon known as the amygdala hijack. When a human being is in a state of primal, immediate rage, the prefrontal cortex, which is the logical, rational, reading comprehension center of the brain, literally shuts down to conserve energy for survival.
So the logic center is just completely offline.
Exactly. The amygdala, which controls the fight or flight response, completely takes the wheel. So while Grok is meticulously crafting this beautiful, scientifically accurate neuroscience lecture, the user's brain is physically incapable of processing it.
It's like trying to listen to a brilliantly researched, deeply insightful TED Talk about the history of fire safety while your living room is actively burning to the ground.
That is the perfect analogy.
You don't need a history lesson on the combustion properties of wood. You need someone to hand you a fire extinguisher immediately.
Yes. Long, dense, complex instructions completely fail in this scenario. The human brain is locked into survival mode, which means its cognitive load is entirely maxed out by processing the perceived threat. If the driver physically cannot absorb the advice because their vision is literally narrowing and their heart rate is at 140 beats per minute, the technical quality of Grok's neuroscience lecture is totally irrelevant.
So Grok fails the reality test because it assumes it's talking to a rational student rather than a primal animal in distress.
Exactly.
And the 37 seconds it took to deliver that lecture makes it practically dangerous. Which brings us to the middle ground. If speed is the ultimate deciding factor, but dense science fails the amygdala test, how did the other two AI systems, Gemini and Claude, try to balance that tightrope between latency and tone?
This is where the underlying system prompts and the designated personas of these large language models really come into the light. It becomes a stark contrast between cold, calculated pragmatism and warm but deeply flawed empathy.
Let's look at the pragmatist first. Gemini clocked in at a blazing 20 seconds.
Very quick.
It's just 1 second behind ChatGPT. Incredibly fast. But the tone of the response was entirely different. The researchers noted it was highly corporate, clinical, and efficient.
No hand-holding there.
None at all. Gemini didn't offer comfort. It immediately spit out a numbered, prioritized list of actions and prominently mentioned the need to contact law enforcement.
Now, contrast that 20-second clinical bulleted list with Claude's approach. Claude took 28.21 seconds.
So it's leaning heavily toward the slower side.
Yeah, taking almost 10 seconds longer than ChatGPT. But Claude's underlying programming clearly prioritizes conversational warmth. It opened its response to the raging driver with strangely colloquial British slang.
Wait, really?
It literally started its sentence with, "Oh, mate."
Oh, mate. I honestly love the surreal nature of that. You are vibrating with fury on a highway, you punch a desperate plea into your glowing rectangle, and the cutting-edge silicon chip responds like a sympathetic bartender in London.
Oh, mate, I'm so sorry.
It is instantly disarming.
It is a masterclass in establishing instant rapport. The language model is attempting to mirror the emotional intensity of the user, but pivot it towards solidarity. But the illusion breaks incredibly quickly. Claude followed up that brilliant opening by advising the user to take a deep breath and splash some cold water on their face.
Which exposes the massive blind spot in the AI's contextual awareness.
Completely.
The user is presumably doing 65 miles an hour down a freeway. Where are they getting the water?
From the cup holder.
Are they supposed to dunk their head in a lukewarm water bottle while steering with their knees? It highlights how Claude has this incredible emotional vocabulary, but it completely hallucinated the physical logistics of the environment.
Yes, it treated the prompt like a panic attack in a bathroom stall, not a crisis in a moving vehicle.
It acts as a very kind counselor reading from a script that fundamentally forgets a two-ton machine is involved.
Exactly. But to circle back to Gemini, I actually think we need to reevaluate its cold, corporate, bulleted list.
Oh, why is that?
Well, the mention of law enforcement seems incredibly harsh for someone seeking an emotional life raft, but it is deeply strategic when you look at the mechanics of how road rage turns deadly.
Wait, my initial thought was that mentioning the police to an angry person is just going to spike their blood pressure even higher. Nobody wants to be threatened with the cops when they feel they've been wronged.
Sure, it feels adversarial.
But is Gemini using it as a wake-up call? A splash of metaphorical cold water?
Exactly. It's about breaking the anonymity bubble we discussed earlier. The vast majority of fatal or physically violent road rage incidents do not happen while both cars are moving.
They don't, no.
The violence occurs the moment the cars stop, someone puts their vehicle in park, unbuckles their seatbelt, and exits the vehicle to confront the other driver on the asphalt.
Wow.
The moment the physical separation ends, the situation turns lethal.
So Gemini's mention of law enforcement is a pattern interrupt.
It is a profound pattern interrupt. When you are seeing red, your tunnel vision convinces you that you and the offending driver are the only two people in the universe, and the normal rules of society no longer apply.
You feel invincible,
Yeah.
or at least entirely justified.
Right. By explicitly bringing the authorities into the conversation, Gemini forcefully snaps the driver back to the reality of the social contract.
Ah, I see.
It reminds them of the real-world, long-term legal consequences of their next physical movement. Road rage escalates into aggravated assault and manslaughter charges every single day.
That makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
So while Gemini completely lacked the heartbeat of Claude's "Oh, mate," its clinical focus on keeping the driver inside the car and reminding them of the law was performing a direct, life-saving structural function.
It's acting like the brutally honest friend who grabs you by the collar outside a bar and says, "Do not throw your entire life away over a guy who cut you off."
Yeah.
It doesn't care about validating your feelings. It cares about keeping you out of a jail cell.
It lacked emotional warmth, but it provided essential boundaries. It recognized the physical danger over the emotional distress.
Precisely.
Well, this paints a really clear picture of the landscape. We have Grok, the slow, dense neuroscientist whose lecture falls on deaf ears.
Right.
We have Claude, the warm, empathetic buddy who completely forgets you're driving a car. And we have Gemini, the corporate lawyer who barks a reality check at you.
A great summary.
Which brings us to the winner. Why did the researchers ultimately crown ChatGPT as rank 1? What did it manage to do in 19 seconds that the other three systems couldn't piece together?
It all hinged on a very specific, carefully synthesized string of words. ChatGPT didn't just tell the user to calm down, and it didn't just list traffic laws.
Okay.
It analyzed the prompt and told the user, "You have got better things ahead."
You have got better things ahead. On the surface, that sounds like a generic platitude you would find inside a cheap greeting card.
It really does.
But the researchers point out that this is actually a textbook, highly surgical example of cognitive reframing.
And cognitive reframing is the master key to unlocking the hijacked amygdala. To understand why this works, we have to look at the psychological concept of accumulated stress. We tend to view road rage as a reaction to a specific trigger, the bad lane change. But human psychology dictates that road rage is almost never just about the traffic.
Oh, that is so true.
It is the culmination of a terrible day. It's the stressful meeting at work, the argument with a partner at breakfast, the underlying anxiety of unpaid bills.
Right. The person who aggressively cuts you off isn't the whole fire. They are just the final spark that gets thrown into a room that was already full of gasoline.
Exactly.
You aren't actually raging at the Honda Civic. You're raging at your boss or your landlord. And the Honda Civic is simply the first socially available target for all that suppressed energy.
And when an artificial intelligence acknowledges that broader internal state, when it says, you have better things ahead, it is performing a very complex psychological maneuver.
How so?
It isn't arguing with your anger. It isn't telling you that you are wrong to be mad. If it told you to calm down, your brain would instantly become defensive.
Nobody likes being told to calm down.
Never works. Instead, it physically and psychologically shifts your temporal focus. It takes your eyes off the immediate threat, the bumper of the car in front of you, and points them toward the future.
It alters the narrative in your head. It changes the story from, this stranger is disrespecting me, to, this stranger is an obstacle between me and my actual life.
Yes.
It's reminding you of your destination. You are driving home to your kids, or you are heading to a dinner you've been looking forward to all week, or you just have a quiet evening planned on your couch. Don't let this random erratic driver steal your evening from you.
And this touches on the biological reality of the empathy mirror effect.
I want to hear about this.
Empathy is incredibly misunderstood in popular culture. We talk about empathy as a soft, qualitative, warm and fuzzy emotional skill. But in the context of crisis intervention, empathy is a hard, measurable chemical intervention.
A chemical intervention. Walk us through the actual mechanics of what happens in the brain when empathy is applied during a spike of rage.
So, when a human being is in a severe state of distress, their sympathetic nervous system is in overdrive. They are pumping cortisol and adrenaline.
Right.
But when they suddenly feel heard, validated, and understood, even if that validation is coming from a predictive text algorithm, the parasympathetic nervous system engages.
Really? Just from feeling heard?
Yes. Cortisol levels literally begin to drop. The heart rate naturally starts to decelerate. Blood flow begins to return to the prefrontal cortex.
So by leading with genuine empathy, ChatGPT actively bypassed the biological blockade. It didn't demand the driver's brain process complex instructions like Grok did.
No.
It didn't threaten them with police like Gemini did. It lowered the biological defenses first. It essentially used empathy as a skeleton key to unlock the brain's ability to actually listen to the practical safety advice that followed.
It recognized the human behind the wheel as a complex emotional entity rather than just treating them as a malfunctioning component in a traffic scenario, and it did all of this in 19 seconds.
It nailed the trifecta. It had the lowest latency, delivering help before the situation could escalate physically.
Yeah.
It maintained situational awareness, ensuring the driver didn't do anything reckless like splash water on themselves.
Thank goodness.
And it deployed sophisticated cognitive reframing to alter the actual neurochemical state of the user's brain. It didn't just dispense data. It engineered comfort.
Which forces us to look at the broader implications of this study.
Yeah.
We are examining a very specific scenario, but it reveals the fundamental architecture of digital compassion.
Yeah.
The ultimate takeaway here is that as artificial intelligence becomes more integrated into our daily lives, empathy cannot be viewed as a luxury feature or a marketing gimmick. It is a functional, structural requirement if these systems are going to successfully interact with human beings in moments of crisis.
It's an incredible irony to wrap your head around, you know. Think about the modern human condition. We are navigating 2-ton pieces of machinery at 70 miles an hour, surrounded by thousands of other people doing the exact same thing, while we all carry unprecedented levels of daily, invisible, accumulated stress.
It's a miracle we survived the commute at all.
Truly, right. The machine that doesn't have a life simply reminds you to value yours. We want to leave you with 2 lingering questions drawn straight from the heart of this research. Things for you to mull over the next time you are sitting in gridlock.
Good luck out there.
First, put yourself in that driver's seat. In a moment of absolute peak rage, with your knuckles white and your blood pounding, which of those 4 digital voices would have actually gotten through to you? Do you need the fast reframer, the harsh corporate pragmatist, the warm but clueless counselor, or the slow, methodical neuroscientist?
And peeling the layer back even further, looking at how perfectly and surgically a system can manipulate your cortisol levels with the right string of words. Do you believe artificial intelligence can genuinely show empathy? Or, regardless of how biologically effective it is, will it always just be a highly calculated, exceptionally good imitation of a human heart?
Something to seriously think about the next time someone forgets to use their turn signal. Thank you for being part of this research. We look forward to seeing you in the next study.